Hey, welcome back to the Owolabi podcast. Today, we're going to talk about something that I think is absolutely critical for you to become the kind of leader that can do extraordinary things in the world, the kind of leader that can really make a difference, that can build things that matter. One of the indispensable qualities, one of the universal qualities of people who are building things that matter, that make a difference in the world, they have this level of uncommon confidence. They know what they're after. They know who they are. They might not know how to get there, but they know what they're on this earth to do. And that kind of uncommon confidence creates a sense of comfort in the people who are following them. The people who are following them know that the leader doesn't have all the answers, but they know that the leader is going somewhere, and the leader is going somewhere with purpose, and they feel comfortable putting their own fate in the leader's hands. The question for you and for me is, how do you build uncommon confidence in a way that's authentic? Because you'll find a lot of people, I'm telling you, you've probably seen it too, there's a lot of people who act like they are far more confident than they really should be. They're more confident in their opinions than they should be. They're more confident in their talents than in their skills than they should be. But the truth is, there are people who have authentic, uncommon confidence. They understand who they are, they know what they're made of, and they know what they can produce. And they understand where they're headed, and they understand it might not take the time they expected to get there, but they know they're going somewhere, and they're confident that they'll get there. How do you build uncommon confidence? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And there's a couple different ways that you can start thinking about uncommon confidence. One of the ways to think about it is recognizing that uncommon confidence really starts with your core values. It starts with you understanding what you're about. What, at the very end of the day, what matters most to you, what is indispensable. And Roy Disney has a great quote. He says this, he says, when your values are clear, your decisions are easy. Let me say that again. When your values are clear, your decisions are easy. When you get to a situation where you have to choose one thing or another, and a lot of people get insecure and they start to waver, whether your values or things are, kind of fuzzy, then you get to that crossroads and you're like, I don't know what to do. And you don't have a framework to make decisions. But when you set that framework ahead of time, when you say, these are my priorities, this is what's first, second, and third, this is how I'm going to make difficult decisions. I value these things. Suddenly, if you make those hard decisions before those moments come, when the moments do come, it's easy to walk forward with confidence because you're like, I already made that decision. We are not going back. I already made that decision. I'm not sacrificing my family. I already made that decision. I'm not sacrificing my health. I already made that decision. I am going to be sacrificing these things for this stuff. That kind of confidence, that predetermined confidence, that's crystal clear. That's super important for people who are becoming the kind of person with uncommon confidence. And I'll tell you what, the reason why it's uncommon is because most people do not take the time to go through their values. They don't take the time to understand what matters most to them, making a small, short list. These are the things that come hell or high water, I will not sacrifice. And I'll put those things in order. And so for me, I have a list of core values. I hope you do too. If you don't, I highly encourage you to sit down and write those out. It's almost as if when the crisis comes, you can't write out your values in that moment. You have to have done it before the moment comes for you to display real confidence in the moment. So that's the first thing you want to do. You want to make sure that you're clear about your values because again, like Roy Disney said, I love this quote, when your values are clear, your decisions are easy and you can move forward with confidence. So one of my top core values that brings me a lot of comfort and brings me a ton of confidence is learning. I feel like I love to learn, but I don't mean just learn for the sake of learning. Like I love to learn things that I don't know, and I love to put myself in a position where I don't know things that I have to learn. Let me tell you why this is important. When you're leading an international nonprofit or you're leading an international organization that works in 28 countries, what you find is you'll run into a lot of situations where you don't know stuff and you don't understand the customs in a particular country. You don't understand the business problems in that particular country. But because I have this value of learning, it means that I'm really, really focused on getting information, saying, I don't know something, identifying the things that I'm not good at, finding people who are good at that thing, finding people who can teach me stuff, and then being in a position where I can humble myself in front of literally almost anybody and say, I don't know how to do this. I need you to teach me. It does me zero good to act like I'm 10 feet tall and bulletproof. The only way I can be a learner is if I position myself in a humble way and say, I need help. So one of my top values is learning. And that means I can go places that I probably wouldn't normally go. I can do things that I probably wouldn't normally do, knowing that I don't have to know it all. I just need to be able to learn it all over time. That's a massive value, and it's created a lot of freedom for me. So here's the other thing you got to do to have uncommon confidence. Along that same line, you have to have this learning mentality. You have to embrace continual growth. A lot of times when you see people with more confidence than you, one of the things you think right away is they were born that way. Maybe they're just the kind of person who's just naturally confident and you just don't have it, or you're faking it and you feel like on the inside you're shriveling up. Insecurity is a real thing. We talked about that in the last couple episodes. But the truth is, for you and for me, you've got to understand that real confidence is like a muscle. It's grown over time. It's grown under stress. It's grown under strain. It's grown by putting yourself in a position where you don't know things and you have to learn and grow. And as you enter that situation where you don't know what you're doing and you feel embarrassed, you feel like, gosh, everyone here knows this and I don't. I feel like I'm just groping in the dark and I'm not figuring it out. That is part of the process. And if you keep learning and growing in the middle of that uncertainty, in the middle of that intellectual and spiritual and emotional pain, what happens is you start to gain traction. And then one day you look up and you know more than you used to. You're better than you used to be. You're the kind of person who can actually handle difficult situations, and you're not afraid to go into new situations and re-risk the knowledge that you learned. You're not afraid to go into situations again because you're like, you know what? I'm a learner. I can grow. I can go through a situation where I don't know what I'm doing. Give me enough time. Give me a couple weeks, couple months, couple years. I'll come out on the other side and I'll be better than I've ever been. And that kind of confidence, learning what you don't know and using it to your benefit, that'll change everything for you. And you'll learn, just like I learned, that confidence is a muscle. So here's another characteristic of uncommon confidence: having a resilient mindset. Now, when we talk about resilience, what we mean is your ability to come back after a very, very difficult moment, after a potentially devastating event, when you can say, look, everything right now tells me things are worse than they've ever been, but I believe that tomorrow can be better than today. I believe that we can keep moving forward, and in time, things will get better. That belief that you can continue moving forward and things will somehow get better if we don't quit. That's that resilient mindset. But here's the truth of it. Oftentimes when it comes to, developing that sense of confidence and having that resilient mindset, people think, well, I just need to be more resilient. I just need to not quit. And that's part of it. But when you're exercising resilience, let me tell you what you're not thinking about. You're not thinking about resilience. When you're exercising resilience, you're not thinking about resilience. What you're thinking about is vision. You're thinking about where you're headed. You're thinking about why it's important. You're thinking about all the things that you've already poured into the effort that you've put into this thing. And you're thinking, I cannot quit because all these people are counting on me, or I've already put all this time into it, and you won't let yourself quit. And so one of the key components of being resilient and having uncommon confidence is having a clear vision for who you are and where you're headed. When you have a clear vision for your life, suddenly resilience becomes a byproduct. You're like, well, I wasn't thinking about resilience. I was committed to not quitting. And I was committed to finding a way through, not finding a way out. That's one of the key components of people who have uncommon confidence. They simply just refuse to quit, and they have that resilient mindset. So here's one thing you got to know about leading with uncommon confidence. You also have to understand that leading with uncommon confidence oftentimes means that you're leading with an absence of ego. It means that you're not focused on yourself. Here's why. The presence of ego automatically means the presence of fear. When you're leading with the presence of ego, you're thinking about yourself. You're thinking about your own reputation. You're thinking about being hurt. You're thinking about being embarrassed. You're thinking about, well, I hope everyone looks at me a certain way. When you're leading with that first, suddenly you're also afraid of losing. You have something to hide, you have something to prove, and you have something to lose. When you remove your ego out of the situation, you have the freedom to lead with confidence because it's not about you. It's about serving other people. A really good example of this is with Nelson Mandela in Robben Island in South Africa. I was there just this last year, and it was an amazing opportunity to kind of take a look at his prison cell to understand what his life was like. I was at his house and toured that too, and it was an amazing occurrence because what he did was he came out of prison after 30-some years, and he led the nation. He went directly from the prison cell to the presidency in just a number of years. And when he had the power, for the first time, he could do almost whatever he wanted to. And he chose to use that power to serve. He didn't exact revenge on his guards who treated him a certain way. He didn't exact revenge on all the white people in the community that threw him in prison. He didn't do any of that. What he did is he recognized he had the power to serve people, to bring people together, to create a new future and a new vision for what the world could be like. And he could use South Africa as an example. He led with uncommon courage because his ego wasn't even in it. He wasn't trying to show people that he was the boss or that he had this, awesome integrity and ultimately they needed to bow down to him. He didn't have any of that desire. He really just wanted to serve and help. And ultimately then, that confidence came directly out of that. And he was an inspiration literally to the entire world. There for like 10 years, he was like the most popular person in the whole globe. Like no one could say anything wrong against him because ultimately they knew who he was and they knew what he was doing and they knew why. And he was the embodiment of this confident idea. And so if you want to lead with uncommon confidence, you start by removing your ego. You start by serving other people. And when you're focused on serving other people, suddenly you'll realize, and when you're focused on serving other people, suddenly you'll realize your fear starts to disappear. Because again, it's not even about you. You're not even in the equation. You're just there to serve and help as much as you possibly can, and you'll have energy and confidence that you never thought you had. Look, there's a lot of people who listen to this podcast, and there are some people who are people of faith, and there's some people who aren't people of faith. I totally get it. But it wouldn't be fair if I didn't explain how faith can actually play a part in you having uncommon confidence. If you're a Christian or you're a person of faith, one of the things that you find is that you have this deeper sense of purpose beyond just achieving success. You understand that God is behind you and he's working in you to do something in front of you that you may or may not have control over. And so your job simply is to do the best you can with what you have in the moment that you're in, and then let the rest up to God. And so what happens is you have uncommon confidence, not about the outcome, but about the mission that's directly in front of you. And whatever happens after that, that is really not any of your business. That's not your job. It's not your job to predict the future or figure out how everything's going to come together. You leave that up to God. And so you can have confidence in the things that you can change and the things that you can control. Those people who really lead with genuine, authentic, vibrant faith, they tend to have uncommon confidence because they're not trying to control everything around them. They're just trying to be faithful to the thing that God put inside them. And once they do that, they just leave the rest up to God. So that's one big way that you can have uncommon confidence. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode. If you liked it and if this was helpful for you, make sure you like and subscribe. You know the drill. Also, make sure you comment too. There's a community of people who are building things that really make a difference in the world. And they get into the comments just like I do, and they read. And I'd love for them to see some comments that you make. If things were helpful for you, feel free to jump in there and comment. But until next time, go build what matters.